Hello everyone. This is Offbeat Gyan and I am Deepa Nair. And today let us talk about the Falklands War. What exactly is the Falklands War and where is Falklands? The Falkland Islands are an archipelago or group of islands in the South Atlantic Ocean. Now, this is the globe, as you all know, and this here is Europe. This here, you can see parts of Asia, and this is the African continent. Here we have North America, and this is South America. And the ocean in between this is the Atlantic Ocean. So this here is the North Atlantic Ocean, and here we have the South Atlantic Ocean. The South Atlantic Ocean separates the African continent from the South American continent. An archipelago is a group of islands. And here you can see this little dot, that is the Falkland Islands. So the Falkland Islands are situated 480 kilometers away from the eastern coast of Argentina. This here is the southern side of the South American continent, and this has a geographical name. The geographical name of this particular area in the South American continent is Patagonia. And here we have two countries. One is Argentina. The capital of Argentina is Buenos Aires. And the other is Chile. The capital is Santiago. So, this is the eastern coast of Argentina. And from here, at a distance of 480 kilometers, we have this group of islands called the Falkland Islands. So, it includes East Falkland, West Falkland, and around 776 smaller islands. I hope the picture is clear now, and we can move on to the next slide. So this will give you a better understanding. Patagonia is this part, the southern part of the South American continent. Geographically, it is called Patagonia, and this here, as is pointed out in the map, is Falkland Islands. This is the South Atlantic Ocean, and this here is the North Atlantic Ocean. So this group of islands, they were uninhabited. That is, no human beings were present on these islands until the year 1690. The English captain, John Strong, he explored these islands in 1690. He had been traveling in this region on his ship and he came to these islands. He got down on these islands and he discovered that it had good fresh drinking water. Also, it had a lot of animals that could be consumed consumed by human beings. So until 1690, the Falkland Islands were completely uninhabited. So after John Strong discovered that the islands were fit for human habitation, parts of the islands came under French control in 1764 and some other islands were under British control in 1765. So from the later part of the 14th century, colonization had begun. The people from European countries like France, Spain, England, Portugal, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Russia, they were traveling to different parts of the world. They were establishing their settlements and colonization. The process of colonization was in full swing. So, people from Spain, people from Britain, they had arrived in the Falkland Islands and they had set up their own settlements. Whether these two settlements knew about each other in the 18th century, we don't know. Anyway, parts of the islands were under French control and some others were under English control in 1765. So something happened in 1766. France handed over the territories under its control to another European country, that is Spain. Then Spain attacked the territories which were under English control, and this was in 1770. So both England and Spain, they then discussed the problems in 1771 in England, and an Anglo-Spanish war was averted. And the British and Spanish settlements remained together on the islands until 1774. Then Britain withdrew its military control from the island. They withdrew their military control from the island because they had to use these resources in some other colony. England had colonies all over the world. So probably they removed the military garrison which was based in Falkland Islands. They moved them somewhere else. But before leaving, what they did was they left this plaque. And this plaque states that this particular island, it belongs to England and it belongs to the English king. The English king at that point of time in 1765 was King George III or Farmer George. So the English garrison, they left the Falkland Islands, but they left this plaque as a document of their ownership of the Falkland Island. The Spaniards also left the islands in 1811. Only a few fishermen and a few Spanish cowboys, they remained on the islands and it was their choice. Everybody else had left the island. So Argentinian government then laid claim to all Spanish territories in the South Atlantic in 1816. And the Argentine government in Buenos Aires gave permission to a German-born merchant called Louis Vernet to set up a colony there. And Buenos Aires also tried to establish its control over the Falkland Islands. They set up a military garrison there in 1832. But soon what happened? Britain came back and reasserted its control over the islands. So in 1840, the Falkland Islands became a colony of the British. But Argentina refused to accept it because they claimed that the islands were theirs. Their islands belonged to Argentina. Britain used the islands as a military base during the First World War, which was held between 1914 to 1918, and also during the Second World War, which was from 1939 to 1945. So Britain was not willing to give up the Falkland Islands, and Argentina was contesting its claim. But then this dispute could not be resolved because the world was involved in much bigger conflicts, that is the Second World War. But then, after the Second World War came to an end in 1945, once again the dispute flared up between Argentina and England. And both of them, they wanted to have control over the island. Both of them wanted sovereign rights over the island. So the Argentine president, Juan Perón, he asserted that the islands belong to Argentina. In April 1982, Argentina sent its own military forces to Falkland Islands and they began the occupation of the island. So England would not rest. England immediately sent its own expeditionary force to defeat the Argentine army, which was in Falkland Islands at that point of time. So this war, it went on for 10 weeks and the war ended with Britain, the expeditionary force from Britain, defeating the Argentine army. And thus Britain re-established its control over the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic Ocean. So after the Falklands War in 1982, the people living on that island, they also chose to remain with Britain. They did not want to come under Argentine control. So now it is a British overseas territory. And the people living on the islands, they have their own internal government. But their head of state is the British or English king. And their foreign affairs are controlled by Britain. So, this in brief is the story of the Falklands War, which began in April 1982. It was a 10-week war. It was over sometime in June in 1982. The war got over and Britain re-established its control over the Falkland Islands, which is in the South Atlantic Ocean. Thank you. Until we meet again with my next video on the Cold War.